You probably touched a product made with forced labor today. Statistically, it's almost certain, because over 50 million people are trapped in modern slavery around the world. They aren't buried in history books. They're alive now, unseen, producing the goods that keep our modern world turning. We live surrounded by the illusion of choice, aisles filled with options, brands promising ethics and comfort. But behind those glossy labels lies a system disturbingly familiar to the past, one that measures human life in output, not dignity. Coffee beans picked by hands that bleed. Chocolate sourced from children who've never known a childhood. Clothes stitched by exhausted women earning less than $1 a day. Minerals mined in tunnels where workers risk their lives for the rare metals that power our devices. These aren't isolated tragedies. They're threads of the same tapestry that once fueled the slave ships crossing the Atlantic. The form has changed. The logic remains. Exploitation, profit, denial. You think slavery ended centuries ago. What if I told you it never disappeared? It simply changed its face. The chains are no longer iron. They're invisible, woven into the fabric of our daily lives. They're in the cup of coffee you sip each morning, the shirt you're wearing, the phone in your hand. Every convenience we take for granted might be built on someone else's captivity. We're about to unravel a truth that hides in plain sight, a global web of commodities spun from forced labor, profit, and silence. The story is no different in the world of fashion. The shirt you wear, the jeans you love, the dress that trends online, all part of a global cycle of overproduction and underpayment. In Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Ethiopia, millions of garment workers labor in factories that echo with the hum of sewing machines and the crack of verbal abuse. Hours blur into nights. Safety is a privilege they can't afford. When disasters strike, fires, collapses, chemical leaks, the world mourns for a moment, then moves on as if those lives were expendable. When we trace these threads back to their source, the picture becomes clearer and darker. In West Africa's cocoa farms, the sweetness of chocolate is born in sweat and tears. Children as young as 10 swing machetes taller than themselves, cutting through cocoa pods under a relentless sun. They carry heavy loads across fields laced with pesticide dust, their small bodies breaking long before adulthood. They've never tasted the chocolate they helped create. The same brands that dominate supermarket shelves, names we trust, celebrate, and advertise, have long depended on these unseen workers. And then there's technology, the glowing symbol of progress. But what powers your phone, your laptop, your electric car? Deep beneath the earth in Congo's cobalt mines, men and children dig through toxic mud with their bare hands, searching for the mineral that gives life to batteries. They work without masks, without tools, without safety. Many never return from the pits. For them, the future isn't innovation, it's survival. The metals extracted here fuel the wealth of nations and corporations, creating billion-dollar industries built once again on unseen suffering. Fast fashion thrives on the illusion of affordability. A $5 t-shirt seems like a bargain, but someone somewhere pays the real price. Workers are trapped by poverty, forced to meet impossible quotas, their wages withheld to keep them compliant. It's a new kind of bondage, legal on paper, lethal in practice. Just as plantations once thrived on endless human labor, today's factories rely on endless human exhaustion. And yet, for all its complexity, this system operates on a simple truth. Demand drives exploitation. Every purchase, every click, every desire for cheaper goods ripples across this hidden network. The same forces that once filled slave ships with human cargo now fill warehouses with underpaid laborers. The pursuit of profit still outweighs the price of humanity. The global web of commodities stretches further than any empire once did. Supply chains now span continents, linking rural fields to urban malls, sweatshops to boardrooms. Each product passes through countless hands, some skilled, some enslaved, before it reaches us. It's a system so vast that accountability gets lost in the shuffle. The consumer sees a price tag. The producer bears the pain. The global economy runs on silence. Every empire of profit demands its sacrifices, and the modern one hides them better than ever. What was once done in open markets and auction blocks now takes place behind corporate logos, in contracts written in fine print, and in the long shadows of international trade. In this new world, chains are replaced by contracts and whips by wages too small to live on. But the control is the same. The fear of losing everything keeps workers silent, compliant, trapped. Companies claim ignorance, governments look away, and consumers tell themselves there's nothing they can do. And just like in centuries past, the world's wealthiest nations still thrive on the suffering of the poorest. This is the modern Middle Passage, a journey not across the ocean, but across markets and factories, screens and stores. Every item tells a story. Every story hides a wound. It's not that the world doesn't know. It's that knowing has become a luxury, easier to ignore when the suffering happens far from sight. News outlets occasionally flash images of factory disasters or child miners, but then the headlines fade, drowned in the endless scroll of distraction. The victims are replaced by new ones and the machine keeps turning. From the plantations of the past to the production lines of the present, the story repeats. The only difference now is distance, the cruelty outsourced, the guilt diluted. We tell ourselves that slavery was abolished, but it was only redesigned to fit the demands of globalization. Think about the coffee you drink every morning. It begins in countries like Ethiopia, Honduras, and Vietnam, where workers rise before dawn to harvest beans for less than $2 a day. They carry sacks heavier than themselves, their hands raw from the thorns, their futures tied to the rise and fall of global prices they will never control. Coffee chains and brands promise ethically sourced products, but the truth often is layered with manipulation. Certifications become shields, marketing tools to reassure consumers rather than free the laborers. Each of these people lives in the shadow of a system built centuries ago, a system that once shipped human beings across oceans to fuel the wealth of empires. Now, instead of chains, they face debts. Instead of overseers, they face corporations. Instead of auction blocks, they face global markets that decide their worth in cents. The truth is brutal. The world's most profitable industries, fashion, food, technology, and construction still rely, in part, on modern slavery. It is not an accident. It is a design. Exploitation lowers costs, increases profits, and sustains the illusion of abundance. The world's hunger for cheap goods keeps the system alive, feeding it with our every purchase. In the fishing boats off the coasts of Thailand and Indonesia, men are trapped at sea for years. They are beaten, starved, and forced to work through storms. Their catch fills the shelves of supermarkets across the world, sold to families who will never know the human price of their seafood. In the brick kilns of Pakistan and India, families work generation after generation to repay debts that never end. Children grow up amid dust and heat, molding bricks for homes they will never live in. Each product has a past. Every thread of a shirt, every bean of coffee, every gram of metal carries an invisible story. A history written in exhaustion, in fear, in silence. The modern world is addicted to consumption, but every addiction has its cost. The difference is that here the cost is measured in lives. Imagine for a moment that the goods around you could speak. The shoes, the phone, the sugar on your table. What would they say? Perhaps they would whisper the names of those who made them. Perhaps they would scream. Perhaps they would ask why, after centuries of progress, their pain still fuels our comfort. But beneath this darkness, there is also resistance. All around the world, individuals and organizations are fighting to expose what corporations hide. Investigators infiltrate factories. Journalists trace supply chains. Survivors share their stories. Laws are being written, reports published, and yet, the system adapts, always one step ahead. The question isn't whether modern slavery exists, it's whether we're willing to see it. Whether we can look at the things we own and admit they might be stained with suffering. Whether we can break the habit of convenience long enough to demand something better. The truth is harder to face, but it's our only path to freedom for them and for us. Because as long as one person is enslaved to sustain another's comfort, none of us are truly free. So when the next ad flashes across your screen promising sustainability, remember what it really means to sustain something. Ask yourself, is it the planet we're sustaining or the profit built on hidden suffering? The global web of slavery's commodities isn't a distant tragedy. It's here in our homes, our choices, our silence. And until we tear apart its threads, history will continue repeating itself, just under a different name, because slavery never truly disappeared. It evolved, and it's waiting for us to finally see it. Ending this web requires more than outrage, it demands transformation. Governments must enforce transparency. Corporations must trace every step of their supply chains, not just for profit but for accountability. And we, the consumers, must learn to ask questions. Who made this? Where did it come from? What was the cost? True change begins not in the factories, but in awareness. Every purchase can either feed the chain or break it. Every voice raised in demand for ethical labor becomes a spark against the darkness. Once humanity justified slavery with lies, race, power, civilization. Today we justify its modern form with convenience, price, and ignorance. But the lie is the same, that some lives are worth less than others. In West Africa, young boys wield machetes on cocoa plantations. They work in silence, their skin scarred by the very trees that produce our chocolate. They've never tasted what they harvest. Each bar of chocolate becomes a paradox, a sweet symbol of bitter reality. Big corporations claim ignorance or pledge reform, yet the reports repeat year after year. The same villages, the same children, the same sorrow. In the cobalt mines of the Congo, men and children dig deep into toxic earth with their bare hands. They inhale poisonous dust while mining the minerals that power our smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles, the very tools of modern life. These are not isolated cases. They are the backbone of modern civilization. The irony is cruel. The same technology that spreads awareness of injustice is powered by the suffering it seeks to expose. The world's luxury is built on invisible suffering. Behind every polished store display, behind every online shopping cart, there's an invisible workforce. Millions of unseen hands shaping the products we cherish. The illusion of progress masks the persistence of old systems, refined through technology, hidden beneath polished marketing campaigns. The plantation is turned into a factory, the overseer into a manager, and the whip into a wage that barely sustains life. Let's look closer. In Bangladesh, garment workers labor in suffocating rooms for 12 to 16 hours a day, stitching clothes that will sell for hundreds of dollars in Western malls. The heat is unbearable, the pay insulting, and the fear constant. The building's walls crack, but production never stops until one day they collapse. Like the infamous Rana Plaza tragedy, where over 1,000 workers were crushed beneath concrete and indifference. For days, rescuers pulled out bodies, many still clutching half-sewn garments destined for global fashion brands. The world mourned for a week and then moved on. This is not just about economics, it's about psychology. The modern world has perfected the art of detachment. We consume without thinking, buy without asking, and justify without guilt. The cost of comfort is measured not in money, but in humanity. The same mindset that once enabled the transatlantic slave trade now fuels the exploitation of invisible workers across borders. Only the language has changed. Governments speak of development, corporations of efficiency, and consumers of affordability. Yet underneath those words lies an unspoken truth. Exploitation is profitable, and so the cycle continues, generation after generation. When we hold a phone, we hold a piece of someone's torment. When we wear a shirt, we might be wearing a child's tears. And when we sip coffee or eat chocolate, we taste the quiet despair of someone whose labor has been stolen. But the question lingers. Why does it continue? It continues because profit demands blindness, because consumers crave cheapness, because governments trade ethics for growth. Corporations thrive on complexity, multi-layered supply chains that stretch across continents, built precisely to blur accountability. When outrage rises, they shift responsibility down the chain. By the time you trace it to the beginning, the trail vanishes into poverty and exploitation. Transparency laws like those in the UK and California have begun forcing companies to disclose their supply chains, yet even these are often shallow gestures, riddled with loopholes and vague promises. Without enforcement, laws become performances, paper shields protecting image, not lives. True transformation means dismantling the system of willful ignorance. It means demanding fair wages, humane working conditions, and genuine transparency, not as charity but as justice. The change also begins with the consumer, you, me, all of us. Because every time we buy, we vote with our money, our morals, our silence. The modern slave trade thrives on that silence. Every purchase that ignores exploitation feeds it. Every question that challenges it weakens it. But amid this darkness, sparks of defiance flicker. Survivors of forced labor are speaking out, exposing the truths corporations would rather bury. Some rebuild their lives, turning trauma into activism. Their courage becomes a weapon against silence. In Ghana, young men who once worked under coercion on cocoa farms now campaign to end child labor. In Indonesia, freed fishermen tell their stories, forcing governments to confront the sea-bound slavery that sustains global seafood supply. These are not stories of pity. They are stories of power, of endurance, of the human will refusing to be erased. Change, however, demands more than awareness. It requires accountability. The fight against modern slavery is not a moral choice, it's a global necessity. And the front lines are not in distant factories or plantations. They are in the decisions made every day, by corporations, by governments, and by us. But even as we push for reform, we must confront the deeper truth. Modern slavery is not just a business failure, it's a moral collapse. It reveals what humanity is willing to sacrifice for convenience. We have traded empathy for efficiency, awareness for affordability, and until that changes, slavery, under new names, will always find a way to survive. Imagine the future a century from now. What will historians say about us? That we knew but did nothing? That we lived in comfort while others suffered unseen? Or that we finally broke the cycle, refusing to let the ghosts of the past haunt the present? The answer depends on what we do now. This is not just a story about exploitation, it's a story about connection. Every human life is tied in some way to another. The same global web that enables oppression can also be used to dismantle it. Technology, awareness, and empathy can turn the tide if wielded with purpose. Ethical consumption may seem small, but history shows that small acts can dismantle empires. When people refused sugar produced by slaves in the 18th century, it shook the foundations of the slave trade. When workers organized in the early 20th century, they forced industries to recognize human rights. Today we face a similar battle, but on a global scale. We must relearn the power of conscious choice. Look for fair trade certifications, ethical fashion initiatives, and transparency reports. Research the brands you support. Ask where things come from. Share what you learn. Demand more. The corporations will listen, not out of conscience, but out of necessity. Public demand shapes markets more powerfully than policy ever could. Every ethical purchase creates a ripple that challenges the tide of exploitation. The power to change this isn't held by governments or corporations alone. It's in the collective will of ordinary people who choose to care. The choice is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. The illusion of innocence has cost too much already. It's time to face the truth, to see the hidden faces behind our comfort, to understand that every product tells a story, some written in pride, others in pain, and to choose finally to listen. Because freedom isn't just the absence of chains. It's the courage to break the ones we've ignored. The survivors of modern slavery do not ask for pity, they ask for visibility, for justice, for a world that recognizes them not as statistics but as people whose lives, dreams, and dignity were stolen in the name of progress. We owe them more than sympathy, we owe them change. So the next time you hold your phone, look at your clothes, or sip your coffee, remember the hands that made it possible. They may be thousands of miles away, but their struggle is bound to yours. Their fight for freedom is the unfinished chapter of our shared humanity. Because the global web of slavery's commodities is not just history repeating, it's history continuing. The question is, will we let it? The truth doesn't vanish when ignored, it waits. It lingers in the supply chains, in the factories, in the dust of mines, in the bruised hands of children, in the silence of those who cannot speak. We can no longer say we didn't know. We can only decide what to do with what we know.